Police responded to a battery in progress at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. Witness advised that a man in a blue spaceman outfit was being slammed to the ground over and over again by a seeming Trump supporter. The Drafting Unicorns investigative team arrived on the scene. We found the victim pounded into the turf, looking like he had just lived a nightmare. The victim's name? Daniel Stephen Jones III, aka Danny Dimes, aka Danny Derp. Witnesses are unclear as to who's at fault for this battery. Was it the men charged with protecting the young quarterback? Was it the men who were supposed to suck up his balls? Or was it the victim himself? Let's start by looking at some of the tangible evidence. The Giants have scored an absolutely abysmal 34.9 on their pass blocking grade. That would be the lowest pass blocking grade PFF ever recorded if it held across the season. Danny Dimes has also been deemed under pressure on 46% of his dropbacks, which would be among the 5 highest pressure rates in the NFL every single year since 2006, when PFF started recording stats. Clearly, Daniel Jones is being affected by the assault he's facing. That's clear as day. He's scoring an 80 player grade when kept clean and a 51 when under pressure. For further context, Kirk Cousins, Josh Allen, and Matthew Stafford are posting similar grades under pressure. So it's fair to say that he's performing around his peers. But when kept clean, he's grading out as the 11th best quarterback in the NFL. But is Danny Dimes himself to blame for any of this? He has thrown 4 interceptions, and 16% of his pressures are attributed to him. Meanwhile, he's also getting 2.88 seconds to throw, which is about average in the NFL. So what's really going on with the Giants' offense? The numbers clearly show the offensive line is a problem. But is Danny Dimes someone we need to victim blame here? Is he filing a false police report to the Drafting Unicorns investigators? Let's dive into the tape and examine the suspects a little bit closer. Dun dun! Suspect number 1, the offensive line. In this clip, we get a prime look at suspect number 1 on this offensive line. Second-year offensive lineman Evan Neal, who completely neglects to block number 56. I'm honestly unclear as to whose fault it was. Guard number 68 is sprinting backwards like maybe he missed his block. I don't even know what the play is supposed to be here. It looks like number 68 was supposed to pull around. Evan Neal was supposed to push down on top of his man, and that's how the protecting screen was set up. Bold strategy, Cotton. It looks like it didn't really work out. For clip number 3, we get another example of the people who are going to look at the tape and where it's easy to say, hey, Daniel Jones has people who are open. Why isn't he just hitting these players? You can clearly see in this clip, Darren Waller is open. He does pop open at the very end, but look at who is looping around the center and gets right into his face right as the throwing window opens up. This has been the problem for the Giants forever. As soon as Danny Dimes hits the top of his drop and starts to step up into the pocket, he's got pressure in his face. He's got nowhere to go. He has no one to throw to. The routes are taking too long to develop, and by the time he finally gets his eyes downfield to see the open man, Micah Parsons is all over him. Here we get yet another example of the Giants' offensive line just completely getting beat like a drum across the board. I mean, they look like a paper mache ship who got dropped into the ocean, just ripping like tissue paper. It's terrible. I know the Cowboys' defensive line is really good, but I think almost every single man on this offensive line gets beat in the first 2 seconds. I mean, Daniel Jones doesn't even get to the end of his rollout before he's getting completely crushed by the Cowboys' defensive line. It's not even fair, really. Here we have another play, the main culprit once again being Evan Neal, who has been the main culprit on quite a few of the blown blocking assignments. Number 92, not even sure who that is, completely long arms Evan Neal to hell, which is pretty bad considering Evan Neal is supposed to be a big, strong, anchoring guy. He just gets ripped through. I mean, he gets run past and ripped through. It's not even a long arm. It looked like a long arm. It's not a long arm. He literally just gets shoulder barged and ripped through. The most basic pass rush move in the book. And Evan Neal never gets hands on him. Just kind of lets him work around. Evan Neal is trying to be a parking cone standing in front of the defensive lineman, and it's not working. He looks like a parking cone. It's terrible. Here we get to see Evan Neal once again getting absolutely smoked. Now the rest of the defensive line doesn't do particularly well either, and the Cowboys are sticking Micah Parsons right in the middle. I can see how he could get a little bit confused. He's not sure if he's supposed to be blocking 92 or 56 coming off the edge. You can see the hesitation. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know who to block. And instead of blocking at least one of them, he winds up blocking absolutely no one. Now, I could also probably blame number 82 there on the outside, who was probably charged with setting the edge on this play, making sure that no one can loop around exactly as they did. But clearly protection is an issue. I don't think anyone's debating that. Protection is an issue here with Daniel Jones. And I mean, seriously, like there's some of these clips. This isn't even every blown blocking assignment. This is what's going on every single play. Now we can get to a different game against the 49ers in Santa Clara, why the Drafting Unicorns investigators were called out. We can see the Trump supporter absolutely scream off the edge, completely unblocked. I don't even know what this blocking assignment is. What is this blocking scheme? Who's supposed to block Nick Bosa? You can see number 82, Bellinger, kind of lunging at Bosa, like realizing, oh shit, that was supposed to be me. But why is he flexed out in the slot if he's charged with blocking the wide 9 defensive end? Wouldn't it make more sense to put him in line next to Evan Neal? I don't really know who to blame on this play, if I'm being completely honest. It's just, part of it's just really good pass. I mean, this is what the Niners do. They stretch out your offensive line and they make it hard for you to block everybody. But for Nick Bosa to be completely untouched and just fire into the backfield before Daniel Jones has even gotten to the top of his rollout is absurd. And this happens all the time. It happens just a couple plays later. I think that might have been the end of their drive there. But in the next quarter, Daniel Jones drops back to pass. And Javon Hargrave just completely eats the offensive lineman's lunch straight into the backfield like it's nothing. I mean, seriously, ripping through the asshole of these Giants offensive linemen. I mean, they're 66 is completely turned around a second into the drop. Completely turned around. What is Daniel Jones supposed to do here? I don't really know what the expectation is, but you can see that these offensive linemen are ripping through the defensive linemen are ripping through the Giants offensive line, and I don't really know what they're supposed to do. We see it again with clip number 37, which honestly kind of shows the dual-headed issue here with the Giants. Not only is the offensive line getting completely run through, but when you look at this play, there is nobody open at all until Daniel Jones is already in the hands of two Niners defensive linemen. And it's just a 5-man rush. It is a 5-on-5. You would think it was an 8-on-5. It's crazy how much pressure the Niners get with 4 or 5 rushers. I mean, all these teams, it's 4 or 5 rushers. They're not bringing the house. The Giants just can't handle their shit. But that does bring us to suspect number 2. We could see on that last clip, no one's really getting open either. So even if Daniel Jones wanted to make a quick decision and get the ball out fast, he can't. There's just no time for him to make these quick decisions, and no one's getting open. There's a certain point where there's not much you can do other than just sit back there and hope to God that he doesn't fumble. But that brings us to suspect number 2, the receivers. Dun dun! Let's be blunt here. The receivers are a motley crew of practice squad players, third stringers, a tight end who pulls his hamstring every week, and a running back who seemingly has forgotten how to catch passes. It's an all bubble boy group. Half of these dudes are constantly injured. And the ones that aren't injured right now have had their athleticism completely sapped. And seemingly, they've really forgotten how to how to catch the ball. Pick number 1 of the season. The Niners take it back for a pick 6. I don't really know what Daniel Jones is supposed to do. He checks it down to his running back, Saquon Barkley, the usually sure-handed Saquon Barkley. Helmet just hits it right on the ball. That's really no one's fault. But it's one of those things that's being thrown against Daniel Jones is, oh my gosh, he has all these interceptions. That's pick number 1. That's absolutely not his fault. We get another one. Pretty good protection by the Giants offensive line. One of the few times the Giants offensive line actually got decent protection against the Cowboys. Daniel Jones drops back to pass. He delivers a strike over the middle to a wide open Jalen Hyatt, who just completely drops the ball. Is the ball a little bit behind him? I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit behind him. Sure, it's a new receiver. It's the fastest receiver on the team. It's not surprising that Daniel Jones maybe overestimated the speed a little bit, but you gotta catch that. If you want to play wide receiver in the NFL, that's a ball that you catch every single time. And that's not new. I think Jalen Hyatt has a 33% drop rate right now. Me, Tristan, and Brandon were talking about, well, why isn't Jalen Hyatt playing? He's the fastest player on the team. He's all they got. Blah, blah, blah. Well, that's why. He drops the ball a lot. Against the Cardinals. we get another play where Saquon just drops the ball. Saquon Barkley gets hit on a check down by Dan Jones. Is it a little bit of a tight window? Yes. Should Saquon absolutely come down with this pass? Yes. It's bad luck on both sides. It's another case of Saquon getting popped as soon as he catch it, but he should catch it. Daniel Jones did not make a bad decision there. That is not an interception that he should have thrown. That's just kind of bad luck, bad execution. 9 times out of 10, that ball bounces into the turf instead of popping up. But Saquon Barkley drops it. I don't really know what else to say. You can see his reaction at the end. He knows it's his fault. Head in his hands, kneeling on the ground. He knows it's his fault. That's definitely not on Daniel Jones. 1,000% on Saquon Barkley. We get another play against the Cardinals. It was a lot. The first half against the Cardinals, the Giants actually had some decent plays, but the receivers just kept killing all momentum by dropping all these passes. Daniel Jones drops back to pass, surveys the field. He has Paris Campbell wide open in a pocket, finds him. Paris Campbell just clunks it. He just clanks it off his hands. Once again, is it a tough catch? Absolutely. It is a difficult catch. But if you're being asked to sit down in that window, you know you're going to get hit. If you're running a curl route over the middle, you know you're going to get hit. That's the kind of pass you have to catch in the NFL. I feel absolutely no sympathy for Paris Campbell there. That was a good throw and a really, really bad catch. Going to the 49ers. Because in the second half of the Cardinals game, everyone kind of gets their shit together, and then Giants pass catchers actually start catching some passes every once in a while. But against the 49ers, the best threat on this team, the consistent guy, the guy who's supposed to be the best pass catcher, Darren Waller, runs a great slant, gets open. Daniel Jones hits him in stride. And Darren Waller just, I don't even know, he just drops it. It just goes right through his hands. It's a good throw, right out in front of Darren Waller where he wants it. For whatever reason, Darren Waller almost goes for a toe drag when he's catching a slant over the middle of the field. I don't really know what possessed him to go for this kind of catch instead of just letting him hit it in stride. Maybe he was anticipating getting hit over the middle. Maybe he was a little bit nervous about Fred Warner lurking there. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he slows his momentum, starts to toe drag in the middle of the field. And then finally, this is kind of where we start to think about who's really the problem here, Daniel Jones or the receivers. Now, this is a pass that Darren Waller should catch. This is a pass that an elite tight end like Darren Waller, seemingly elite tight end like Darren Waller, is supposed to catch. This is what tight ends are brought in for. You're supposed to be the security blanket. You're supposed to be the guy that can make these difficult catches over the middle in traffic. At the same time, you see Fred Warner fly in the end. You see that he's got a man draped all over him. It's probably not the best decision by Daniel Jones. Is it a pass they should catch? Probably. Is it also a little bit of a hospital pass? You be the judge. It's a tough catch. It's a catch that probably should have been made. But this is one that, while it was dropped and popped up in the air interception, this is one that I can put a little bit on the back of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones probably shouldn't have thrown that pass. He got a little bit of tunnel vision. He never came off his first read. And he threw it right where Fred Warner was lurking. You got to know where Fred Warner is at all times if you're going to throw that in route. You have to know. And it affects the play. It affects the play because he doesn't know that the linebacker's there. So let's turn to suspect number 3. That's the great transition. Dun dun! Is Daniel Jones the cause of his own harm? Is he the guy who's causing his own assault, for lack of a better word? Is he causing problems? We start here with clip 5. Daniel Jones takes way too long to throw this ball. You can see he gets some crossing routes open at the bottom of the screen. There's Paris Campbell open. There's number 12 open. Number 18 got open at the end. He has open guys. And you can say maybe he's seeing ghosts at this point in the game. Maybe he's anticipating the pressure before it gets there. But that is a problem. You can't allow that to happen. The best quarterbacks don't see the ghost. The good quarterbacks get the ball out when there's no pressure. And here, Daniel Jones has to get the ball out. There isn't any pressure for a while. He creates his own pressure. And that is a problem you see fairly often with Daniel Jones, is that he does kind of scramble into pressure sometimes. He doesn't always step up into a clean pocket. There's times where he takes straight dropbacks and doesn't drop back in. So or edge rushers, I should say, don't have to bend around the tackles. They can just take a straight beeline shot right at them. That's the whole point of a wide 9 defensive end, right? You line them out wide so they can take a straight shot at the quarterback, anticipating the quarterback not stepping into the pocket. And that's exactly what happens on a lot of these plays. Here we get interception number two of the Cowboys game for Daniel Jones. He rolls out to his right. He makes a really bad decision to throw that ball. That's indefensible. I don't really know what he was thinking there. He just kind of decides, fuck it, I'm going to make a play. I'm going to chuck it to Darren Waller. We've been having this great connection at camp. He's going to bail me out. It was a dumb decision. There was multiple Cowboys in the area. Indefensible. And you do see that from Daniel Jones. He has the Danny Derps nickname for a reason. Here's an example of a play where I'm not really sure who's at fault here. Darius Slayton breaks open down the sideline. Daniel Jones gets halfway decent protection. But Daniel Jones fades back on this ball like he's anticipating pressure getting in his face. If he steps into this pass, we're probably talking house call. Darius Slayton, 70-yard bomb down the sideline. We've seen it a million times as this connection, Darius Slayton to Daniel Jones. They love to throw these deep balls to Slayton. That's what he's good at. Instead, Daniel Jones kind of undercooks it. He underthrows a little bit. Slayton has to work back to the ball. He has to slow down, gives the corner time to catch up. Now, is it a bad ball? Absolutely. It is a bad ball. Is it also a case of the pressure starting to get in Daniel Jones's head? Yes. You can see that he's afraid to step up. You can see that he's afraid to step into his throws. You can see that he's starting to fade away from non-existent pressure. That's absolutely a symptom of bad offensive line play. That said, it's still a pass that an NFL quarterback should hit, despite maybe the fear that he has of getting hit and sacked. This final clip is an example of what Daniel Jones kind of starts to do well. You can see that he's still getting hella pressure from the defensive line. The defensive line is all over. 90% of the time, this is a sack. But what Daniel Jones does here that I really like and I need to see more of is he climbs the pocket. He gets a decent protection from his interior line. He steps up, navigates the pocket, and delivers a strike on the move. We need to see more of that from Daniel Jones. I'm not excusing the offensive line. The offensive line has been really bad. Half the time he doesn't step on the pocket. It's because there is no pocket to step into because the interior offensive line has been shredded already. But there are times with Daniel Jones where he drops back. He takes a straight drop. He doesn't step back up into the pocket, and he sets his offensive line up for failure. He needs to do that a little bit more. In defense of Daniel Jones, there's a lot of nice throws on Daniel Jones's tape. A lot of nice throws that should have been completed that aren't. A lot of throws that he does hit. Now, one of the big criticisms of Daniel Jones, he doesn't take big deep shots, and he needs to take more deep shots because when he does take deep shots, he can complete beauties like this one to Jalen Hyatt. He needs to dial it up more. He needs to throw it deep. He's perfectly capable of doing it. Jalen Hyatt splits the safeties. He gets wide open. It's a beautiful post route. That's what Jalen Hyatt was brought to the Giants to do. Daniel Jones has some Kirkland Josh Allen vibes. He's big, he's strong, he's athletic, he's got a strong arm, he can throw the ball deep. It's exactly what Brian Daboll wants Daniel Jones to be, is knock off Josh Allen. So let him be knock off Josh Allen. Let him throw these bombs down the middle of the field to Jalen Hyatt. Trust your quarterback. I think there's some times where Brian Daboll doesn't trust Daniel Jones to make these throws. He doesn't call a lot of deep shots. It's a lot of intermediate throws. He needs to believe a little bit more because Daniel Jones can hit it. Here, we see another play. Daniel Jones, they stretch the field. They run those beautiful curl route. Darius Slayton gets wide open. Daniel Jones hits it in time. He makes a great pass. He hits it in stride. He gets protection. He gets a receiver open, and he executes. This is what he can do. And I know that's a pretty common thing. If every quarterback had receivers who got open and they got good protection, well, then they should hit it. And that's fair to say. But to put the offensive struggles entirely on Daniel Jones, like a lot of Giants fans are trying to do, it's unfair. I think Daniel Jones is good. I think Daniel Jones can be a quarterback that most NFL franchises would be happy with. Look at that throw on the run right there from Daniel Jones. Look at that throw on the runs by Daniel Jones. He gets out of the pocket. He keeps his eyes downfield. He delivers a strike down the sideline. I mean, it's a really, really pretty play. And the receiver executes scramble drill perfectly. More examples of what happens when receivers actually get open for Daniel Jones. He drops back, fakes the handoff. Darren Waller gets wide open on a corner route. Easy money. That's the offense that Giants fans envision. That's the player that Giants fans wanted their $150 million quarterback to look like. He is capable of making these passes. And it's not just open receivers. Daniel Jones can hit some hole shots when receivers get open. Down in the money zone, Saquon Barkley flexes out wide. Daniel Jones takes the snap, looking for guys to get open. Double post to the middle, hole shot. I mean, there's two defenders in the area. And Isaiah Hodgins breaks open, flashes open over the middle of the field, touchdown. He can make these throws. He can make these hole shots. He's capable of hitting these hole shots. He just needs his guys to actually get open every once in a while. Against the Giants and the Niners, there really aren't a lot of good examples because the receivers don't get open or Daniel Jones is getting smacked every single time. And that is why today we have to find Daniel Jones not guilty of his own assault and battery. The offensive line is at fault. The receivers are at fault. When Daniel Jones actually gets a decent pocket, it doesn't even have to be a good pocket, just enough to where he can step up and make something happen, and the receivers get some separation, Daniel Jones can make these throws. The offensive line and receivers are pretty clearly at fault. I don't really know if any other quarterback could do much with this situation. Are there some things Daniel Jones can do better? Absolutely. He needs to work on getting the ball out a little bit faster. He needs to be more decisive. He needs to step up into the pocket a little bit more. But generally, there is no pocket to step up into. There are no receivers to throw open to. Brian Daboll isn't giving him enough chances to stretch the field and show what he can do. They're not giving him enough chances to use his legs, which is what he does really well. Daniel Jones can shine in this offense if he's used correctly. We saw it in spurts last year. He does have talent. He's a big, strong, physical quarterback who can make some deep throws. He just needs to get a little bit time. So that is why here, the Drafting Unicorns investigators determine Giants offensive line, Giants wide receivers, you are guilty of the assault and battery
right away.
Mr. Daniel Stephen Jones III. Thank you very much.
Did you do this? Look at me. Did you do this? Look at me.